Unlike President Obama, you don't have to wait until after the election to find out what I believe or what my plans are.
Welcome back to The Ed Show. Now, Mitt Romney keeps telling us he's got a plan, but he keeps refusing to give us answers on some of the most critical issues facing this country. Now, Think Progress went out and listed the issues Romney just keeps dodging. Romney won't say whether he would undo the new immigration policy. He won't commit to the Paycheck Fairness Act. He won't tell us which tax loopholes he would close to make his budget work. He can't name the federal agencies that he wants to cut. He refuses to say whether he would have signed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. I mean, it goes on and on. He won't take a stand on the Violence Against Women Act, and he won't talk about the carried interest tax break, which is huge, my friends. Candidate Romney, don't you think he owes us a few answers? But it seems like he's just simply following in the footsteps of another famous politician of decades ago. Republican candidate Thomas Dewey. Dewey, I tell you, this guy was famous for making sweeping statements, very generic, that sounded, really good, but he never got into the devil in the detail or the specifics. It worked for Dewey, and he almost beat Harry Truman in 1948, just like the empty speeches are working right now for Mitt Romney as he closes the gap with the president. Watch the comparison. Let's start with free enterprise.
The miracles that come to pass under our free system of productive enterprise.
It's not just because I love job creators. It's because I love jobs.
The only way to win the peace is to provide strength.
American strength is essential for our kids, for us, and for the world.
The only thing Stalin is afraid of is strength greater than his.
I think the right course for our foreign policy is to communicate our strength.
There will begin in Washington the biggest unraveling, unsnarling, untangling operation in our nation's history.
We got to have people who stop thinking of themselves as just Republicans and Democrats and think of themselves as Americans.
I thank you with all my heart for your friendship and your confidence.
I love this country.
We're out of time, are we?
I'm getting the sign that you guys are ready for lunch.
Is our time all gone?
You're the best. Thank you.
I mean, he must have gone to a football coach's clinic and got the old playbook. Avoiding specifics really worked for Dewey, didn't it? The pollsters actually stopped polling back then because they thought that Truman didn't have a chance to win the election. And, of course, the Chicago Daily Tribune, assumed that Dewey had won the election. But that's the real winner holding up the paper, Harry Truman. The American voters saw through Dewey's empty rhetoric in 1948. Now Romney is really putting the American voter to the test here in 2012. I'm joined tonight again by Democratic strategist Bob Shrum. Bob, great to have you with us tonight. You wrote a fascinating article on this. When did it come to you that, hey, wait a minute, this is a Dewey guy?
Well, I was doing my column for the Daily Beast, and Romney did this thing where he wouldn't say whether or not he'd repeal the president's policy on young immigrants. And I thought, wait a minute, this fits a pattern. If he gets asked about Bain, he flees. If he gets asked about any of the details on his Medicare plan, he didn't want to talk about it. He'll lie about it, say it's going to save Medicare when it would destroy Medicare. He wants this election. It occurred to me. I was, and I had a deadline for the Daily Beast on Monday. He wanted this election. He wants this election to be a pure referendum. His question is, how do you feel about the economy? If you don't feel all that good, maybe you ought to take a chance on me. Dewey's question was, it was a referendum, who's more presidential? Now, he thought he was more presidential. To me, he seems kind of stiff there. Mm-hmm. In fact, he and Romney both resemble Alice Roosevelt Longworth's description of Dewey as the little man on the wedding cake.
So can Mitt Romney get away with being not specific until November?
I think it's going to be very tough. First of all, there were no debates in 1948. There are going to be 3 debates this year. And I think Romney's going to get asked the questions, and if he ducks the questions and ducks them conspicuously, people are going to figure out he's not on their side. And that, by the way, when he asked that question, could things get worse? Mm-hmm. The answer is yes.
The dynamic in this election, as opposed to 1948, is the money. I mean, Romney is going to be backed up with a lot of super PAC money that is going to be able to drive up the negatives of the president. How much is it really a fair comparison?
Well, actually, in 1948, the Republicans had significantly more money than Truman did. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were scraping money together to keep that whistle-stop train on the road. And Truman, who had critics in his own party who said he shouldn't be as tough as he was, he shouldn't be as populist as he was, he shouldn't be negative. There was even a dump Truman movement in 1948. Just took Clark Clifford's advice and every single day went out there and was, quote unquote, controversial as hell.
Let's get to the debates that you mentioned. John Kerry is going to play a role in this for Barack Obama. Tell us about it.
Well, I think it's a brilliant choice. I mean, I worked with Senator Kerry in 2004. We lost that election narrowly, but he masterfully won those 3 debates. And what you want when you're picking someone to play your opponent is you want the best possible person you can get. You want someone who's going to be a better Romney than Romney. And Kerry is certainly capable of that. He'll have Romney down, he'll understand what Romney's going to do, and he'll debate very, very well.
So we're really at a point trying to figure out whether this is a Romney strategy to not get specific until the debates, or he really doesn't have answers and doesn't have a plan.
Oh, he has a plan. His plan is to slash Medicare. His plan is to get rid of a whole lot of government departments. His plan is to shred the social safety net in so many different ways. His plan is to turn student loans over to the bankers. He can't afford to tell us. Dewey couldn't afford to tell the country either.
Bob Shrum, great to have you with us. Thanks so much. Ed. Coming up next, Joy Reid, Ari Melber, and Meghan McCain on the attack on women's rights going on across the country, including Michigan, where this was the scene last night. Stay tuned. You're watching The Ed Show on MSNBC.